It's Tasha Cooker, and I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some commentary about the interview that Tasha K did with the Larry Reid accuser. Now, before I get started, all of this is alleged, okay? And there's a couple different angles in which I want to break this down. I'm going to try my best to keep it concise. Now, on Tasha K's last live on her channel, she shared a part of an interview she did. I believe this man's name is Levon. Is it Levante? I think his name was intentionally not in the title, even though it was referenced a couple times. So maybe it's best if we don't say his name. But he was on camera, and she said the entire episode is actually on her website. But we were able to hear quite a bit of details in the interview. Now, if you do go over there and check it out, which I encourage you to, please know that Tasha K did like a 43-minute prelude, and she basically was doing the building. Okay, the build to the interview was very funny and intense because she was really coming for Larry Reid. She also took some shots at Conscious TV. I believe she was referring to him as Larry Reid's boyfriend in a wig. Child, it's just a mess because some of y'all might know all of these people were cool at one point. And I'm not gonna lie, I always wondered when the first allegations came out about Larry Reid. I'm like, oh, Tasha K is cool with him, because one thing I would say with Tasha K, I'm gonna say this: regardless of how we feel about Tasha K, she has always been against abuse of any kind. Okay, she has always been for the victim, for the survivor. So no matter what people want to say in this case, this is actually true to who she's been here on the YouTube streets. So let's be clear about that. In her little prelude, Tasha K also referenced Daryl Moore. Now, before we get into this interview, I feel like we have to give Daryl Moore his flowers because he's been out here treading the wine press, and he brought us some of this information. I believe it's been a little over a year now, maybe even 2 years. And in fact, it led to a legal battle between him and Larry Reid. I honestly don't know the outcome of that legal battle because it just started getting a little too messy. And I can post the links of the videos that I did in the past about some of those things. But from what I remember, because my memory is a little bit murky right now, but what I remember, when Daryl Moore did those interviews with those other accusers, they seemed pretty believable to me. They seemed pretty believable, and I gave my reasons why. Okay, it's just not looking good for Larry Reid. Okay, now there's so many things I want to say. It's very frustrating to watch people. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'm gonna be honest, I get very annoyed with people who are quick to jump the gun and dismiss any type of abuse accuser because they like the person. And this is very prevalent in our community. And it leads to continued abuse. It leads to abusers continuing to have access to victims, okay? And it leads to a lack of accountability. And so I just have very little patience for that. Even though over here we support, everybody has different views. I have very little patience for people who are sympathizers with abusers. Now, I can understand if you're like, oh, I need receipts and I need more proof. I can understand that. But I'm talking about the people who just from the jump, oh my gosh, he's a man of God, it would never happen. No, you need to stop. Anyway, moving right along. So, Tasha K in her prelude, like I said, she took shots at Conscious because, Conscious has been out here swinging and banging for Larry Reid for a while. And that's a whole nother topic. So she begins to interview this person, and one of the things that stand out to me is that she was asking him a lot of different questions about his childhood, and she really did a build coming up to the part prior to the Larry Reid stuff. And people in the comments, some people just don't have no clues. They're in the comments talking about some get to the point, get to the T. When you're dealing with people's trauma history, it's not about tea. Okay? If you want to listen to, certain types of things, then go to TMC. This is not that type of interview. Like, some of y'all really need to get it together. And if you're one of this person listening to this, you really need to have more sensitivity for people's stories, whether you believe them or not. Somebody's trauma is not your daily tea. Anyway, I was getting annoyed. I had to stop reading the comments because people were just saying stupid shit. So yes, she did take a while before she got there, but to me, this tactic is a good interviewing skill, because it kind of establishes what is this person like when they're sharing stories. Then you could kind of look for deviations or similarities when they do get to the part where they share about what allegedly happened to them. And so to me, I found him to be a very consistent person in the way he told stories. Before he got to the Larry Reid accusations, and when he got to the Larry Reid accusations. And he really basically pointed out that Larry Reid was allegedly manipulative, had some grooming behaviors, and even though the title of the interview is very salacious, it really shows some similarities between him and some of the other alleged victims, where it seems like Mr. Reid had allegedly engaged in a lot of grooming behaviors. At one point, he was kind of trying to define this person by saying, well, you're either going to be gay or a womanizer. And I just think that's a very interesting thing for anybody to say, but also to say to somebody who is, they're a member of their congregation. And the interviewer, the accuser, I'm sorry, the interviewee also talked about how growing up in the church that he did, because when this happened to him, he was a teenager. So this is another layer that's very disgusting and concerning. So for all the naysayers, you could say what you want to say, but this points to a whole nother thing. The fact that this man was a teenager when this allegedly occurred. And so he was saying back in his church, you had to get permission to date people, and he wanted to date this one woman, young woman, and he didn't even ask for permission because he knew that Mr. Reid wouldn't go for it. So they were dating in secret. So anyway, at some point, Larry Reid was able to get him alone, and slowly was introducing him to pornographic material allegedly, and again, grooming. And then it led up to physical acts in which he eventually, I don't even want to repeat some of the details, y'all, because not only is YouTube just out of control, but it could be very triggering. So here's a warning for those who might have a history of sexual abuse. He had asked this young man at the time to ejaculate in his mouth. Very, very, very disgusting, concerning, because once again, this was a teenager. This was a child. They're underage. Before people start talking about, I'm really mad when people reference children in terms of consent. They can't consent, okay? Because of their age, like, period. So don't try to spin it. I don't want to hear about, oh, this person was fast and all this stuff. We really got to get it together in terms of being more trauma informed. Again, a whole nother video. So it was just very disturbing. Now, one thing I would say about Tasha K that I didn't like, when she got to that part in the video where she was trying to elicit that type of detail, she kind of asked it in a way that was like lack sensitivity. Tasha K has come very far as an interviewer, but Tasha K, when it comes to people's sensitive details, first of all, it's very hard for anybody to recount any trauma, but trauma of a sexual nature like that is very, very hard for people to give details, and it's often re-traumatizing for them to rehash it, even though this man said he's been in therapy for 10 years. So I just felt like Tasha K was trying to get that detail out there from him, and it was just kind of messy the way she asked it. But then again, because of what I do, I have a different angle, the way I see things, the way I ask questions. That's just my angle. So anyway, child, the shots have been fired. I do feel bad for this man because I do believe he was a victim. I believe he was telling the truth. Tasha K says that she has receipts about this that she will drop in a later episode on her website, or I don't know if she eventually will release it to YouTube. I've heard rumors that Larry Reid is gearing up to sue her. Here's what I got to say. This is not the first accuser. Once again, shout out to Mr. Moore because he's been out here advocating for victims. Okay, for Daryl Moore, I didn't get the sense that he was out here trying to spill tea. He was out here trying to get the truth out. Okay, and so to me, people can say what they want about this interview. This is not the first time that it's been revealed that some of these activities had went on, with Mr. Reid allegedly. And he's come out here and he's bullied people and sent them cease and desist and all this other stuff. Even YouTubers. Okay, he's done a lot of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen from here, but people should really consider the fact that this could be possible. And just because I don't know if statute of limitations, I would guess it's passed by now, so I don't know if legally they can actually do anything. Just because that might be the case doesn't mean this person might not be guilty of some of these crimes. So anyway, that's what I got to say. Please let me know what you think in the comments. There's so many other things that we can unpack. I will say this one other thing. I am concerned about Conscious TV because even though that's his mentor, and he clearly has a lot of respect for Larry Reid, I feel like he should be careful, because it's one thing to be loyal, but if I have a friend where I got to defend them for murder, every 2 months, at some point you have to ask yourself the question, why is this person why is their name constantly involved in this type of crime and situation? Because then your reputation's on the line. And that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video.